Greetings to all, and a warm welcome to our first Ask Me Anything live session. We're thrilled you've decided to join us for this highly interactive event. At WIBU-SYSTEMS, we empower software publishers and intelligent device manufacturers with cutting-edge technologies, new business models, and tailor-made consulting trainings, so you can upgrade, optimize, and automate your entire license lifecycle management and monetize your business at a higher level. With today's dynamic open forum, our goal is to provide additional clarity, expert insights, and actionable advice tailored to your level of expertise, be it beginner, intermediate, or advanced. My name is Daniela Previtali, Global Marketing Director of WIBU-SYSTEMS, and I'm delighted to have you here with us today. We are joined by Rüdiger Kügler, VP Professional Services, and two senior consultants from his team, Michael Birger and Lukas Klassen, all from the headquarters of WIBU-SYSTEMS. Before we dive into the content, let's quickly address a few housekeeping items. Through our panel of experts, we are confident you'll be able to answer all your questions about software protection, licensing, and security for PCs and embedded systems, as well as cast light on integration aspects with the ERP, CRM, and e-commerce system of your choice. We warmly encourage you to drop your questions into the live chat box as they come to mind. If we can't get to your question during the live discussion, rest assured we'll make it a priority to engage with you individually at a later time and address your queries. To ensure a productive and respectful environment, the AMA session is not the place for one-on-one support cases. For technical issues, please refer to our customer support team. Also, while we love sharing insights, we cannot discuss timelines for upcoming features, specific customer user cases, or pricing details. This session is being recorded, and a link to the on-demand replay, along with the resources we'll be mentioning during the webinar, will be sent straight to your inbox within the next couple of days. This way, you can revisit the insights shared today at your leisure. As the webinar concludes, a new browser tab will automatically open, presenting you with a quick quiz. This brief questionnaire includes a few questions aimed at gauging the quality of this masterclass. While these questions are optional, your valuable feedback will empower us to enhance the quality of our offerings and tailor our online events more precisely to meet your specific needs. And now, without any more delay, I'm delighted to hand over the reins to Rüdiger. The stage is all yours.
Yeah, Daniela, thank you very much for this introduction. And I also like to welcome you to our Ask Me Anything webinar. And I also like to encourage you to ask your questions in the chat box. Fortunately, we got already a few questions in the last days via email, and these are the questions with which we will start. And as soon as we have live questions in the chat, we will also, of course, try to answer all the live questions. The first question that we got is a very special question, I would say. Do you plan to create a simpler solution for network licensing server redundancy? Currently, TMR solution is too complex and doesn't justify such a massive footprint to offer simple redundancy. This is a very good question, and we already have options to offer redundancy. The TMR option is the option which offers the best security against the license overusage. And the TMR solution offers a very easy handling as soon as the TMR setup is done. So there are other existing solutions like a hot standby or a cold standby. Technically, both solutions, hot or cold standby, are the same. So there is a second license server. There are the same licenses on this second license server. The difference between hot and cold is the license server running, or is it offline and can be turned on in case of an emergency? And then your software needs to handle something like, if the primary server is there, I'm only taking the primary primary server, I will not check on the redundancy server if there are any licenses. So if all licenses on the primary server are in use, then it brings the message, sorry, all licenses are in use. Only if the primary server cannot be found, meaning it might be down, then you can take the secondary server. And on the secondary server, the recommendation is to count the usage of these licenses to make sure that this is not an irregular overusage. And so there is a simpler setup with this 2 server stuff. But the simpler setup means there might be a risk that there is an overusage. And so you need to count or check the usage later on, maybe monthly or maybe once per year. And so the process behind this, having license which is countable, license which is not countable. So at the end, the setup is easier, but the management and the risk is higher. With the TMR, the setup is more complex, but at the end, it's a very smooth and easy solution. Yeah, so this was one question we got, especially last night. Next question, I would like my sales staff to be able to issue only certain licenses in License Central. Internal licenses should be generated by me. How can I set this up? I think this is a perfect question for Lukas.
Hello, also from my side. In License Central, you can generate or you can configure the licenses on a very technical level. And there you can also set up the orders. And you're not able to configure who can generate which licenses in the License Central. And if you have order-specific parameters as well, the sales staff could enter any value that is valid for this option. However, we have a solution and we've got you covered. In the license portal, there is a functionality that you can configure the licenses in categories. And if you configure these licenses in categories, you can give permissions to certain users so that they only can generate licenses in that category. So you can configure that your internal licenses are in one category and all the other licenses are in a different category, and you only give the permission to generate the internal licenses to yourself, and the other category you grant access to your sales staff. In addition, it's also possible to restrict the values that the option that the order-defined parameters can be set. So, for example, if you have trial licenses, you can configure that the sales staff can set up trial licenses up to 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. But you as an administrator can set up the trial licenses up to 120 days. That's also possible when you define these licenses in different categories in the license portal.
Okay, next question. CodeMeter-µEmbedded is too large for our purpose. Is there a minimal solution for licensing with a reduced range of functions? I think, Michael, this is a very good question for you.
Yeah, so hi, everyone. Yeah, so CodeMeter-µEmbedded is our solution for bare metal devices, and as such, it has almost all a complete licensing model in it, and it still is kind of complex. In the past, we had clients who had the need for a smaller solution for very limited licensing needs. So just to check if there is a license or not, basically, just a binary solution. And we have developed a very small library, which just is based on a single hash sum and a ECDSA check, which can be used with different crypto libraries, for example, Embed TLS or others. And as such, if you already integrate such a crypto library in your system, we can reuse it and save space like this. Also, yeah, due to the very small license, which is basically just a binary solution and a few time constraints, the license itself is very small, something around a few hundred bytes, maybe 150 bytes. Yeah, so this is how we could do a very small alternative to micro-embedded.
There is a very good question which just came up in the chat, which fits a little bit to this. Does WIBU have support for Android and or iOS? If there is support, can you give a short breakdown on how to protect software on mobile device? We have a solution to protect software on Android devices if we speak on, let's say, embedded devices running in Android. And so if you have an embedded device running on Android or Linux, there's a solution for licensing and protection with a local license, everything is fine. If we speak for mobile devices, on mobile devices, there's the option to use CodeMeter Cloud Lite, which is the option for a simple licensing in the cloud. So if the requirement is I want to have licensing and not protection against reverse engineering, then we have a solution with CodeMeter Cloud Lite. So this is something where maybe we should discuss your requirements a little bit more in detail. So maybe you can come back after the webinar with some email to you and we can exchange this. Next question. My company is planning to integrate licensing data into ERP portal using Dynamics 365 CRM. Do you have any recommendations or document that describes how to do this?
We are integrating our solution with many ERP systems. I don't think we have recommendations for Dynamics 365. But the question is, how do you want to have the integration done? Do you just want to create licenses from your ERP systems? Then we have a so-called generic connector, which the ERP system can call during the order, and it will automatically create the licenses in the license central. But if you want to have a bigger integration that your ERP system integrates also with the license portal and delivers the licenses directly to the users, I think there's also the best way that you get in touch with us after this webinar so we can discuss your requirements in detail.
Okay, next question. It's very dynamically and a lot of questions popping up here. Will CodeMeter run on ARM processors, Windows 11 increasing demand? As far as I know, some of my colleagues already using it on a Mac in a virtual environment. And so, yes, it currently runs. Currently, it runs emulated, and we plan to have a full support in the current release, next release. So it already is supported, and the support will definitely improve with the next versions of CodeMeter. Does WIBU have support for Tizen? I have no idea how to pronounce this. Tizen. I would like to protect the software that is on a Samsung TV. I think this is something for embedded, micro-embedded.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any experience with Tizen per se, but I think it's. I'm not sure. I think it's Android Linux based. I'm pretty sure it's a Linux kernel. Depending on if you can install binaries on it yourself, then it's possible. Otherwise, I mean, it should be possible. Otherwise, I'm not sure. We have to check later on, and maybe we'll come back to you with that question.
Yeah, I just checked it in the internet, and Tizen is an operating system based on Linux. And if it is based on Linux, then I'm sure we can create a solution. And if it is Linux based, we have licensing, we have protection, meaning we can encrypt the software using AxProtector. There are some requirements like glibc or other libraries, but this is something where I think the answer is yes. And let's check in detail. So also here, I recommend to check this via email in more detail after the webinar. I sell my own devices that are linked to a PC. I would like to link the license on the PC to my device. Is this possible? Short answer is yes, of course. So if you have software running on a computer, typically you either have a dongle connected to the computer, or you have a smartband license bound to this computer. If you build your own device and you connect this device to the PC, there is an option, we call this the CodeMeter Runtime extension. And with CodeMeter Runtime extension, you could implement your own binding scheme, meaning reading out the serial number of your external device. We did this for microscopes. We did this for vehicle, car, network, interfaces, so for different devices already. And then to reading out the serial number of the device. And then the option to create a cryptographic fingerprint out of this, so we can have some sample code how to do this. And after this, the license is bound to the device. And there is the option, which is let's say, optional option. That's why it's called option. There's the option to save the licenses either on the PC, which means you connect the device to the PC and everything works. You remove it, it does not work. Or you put the licenses on the device itself. And in this case, you connect the license, the device. CodeMeter detects the device. CodeMeter just shows the licenses. And if you remove the device, then the licenses are gone. And if you connect the device to another computer, then the license automatically is shown on this second computer. So either on only binding it to your device, available yes, no, or binding to the device and putting the licenses on the device. And in this case, you can then use it mobile. You can use it mobile like CodeMeter Ready. Maybe Michael can add some words about CodeMeter Ready, by the way.
Sure. So CodeMeter Ready is our solution with our partner Swiss. I mean, we have one partner right now, SwissBit, which supports it. It's a special SD card. So if you have a use case where you have to store data on an external flash memory like an SD card, you can use the SwissBit micro SD or any SD card type from SwissBit, which has the DP feature, and then you are able to bind a CmX license by WIBU to the SD card, and then the license is bound to basically the serial number, to basically to some property of the SD card itself. And if you move this SD card to a different device, then the license comes with it. But you can't just copy the license of the SD card and use it on a second SD card. So yeah.
This is a question where I think we can have discussed about half an hour. We have a .NET desktop application. It has some licensed third-party DLLs. How to handle this kind of situation when licensing the whole application? It depends. It depends on the current situation. So the licensed third-party DLLs, I found a lot of different requirements. In some cases, the licensed third-party DLLs were just handed over, and the software developer, so you should protect them with your own system. In some cases, they are already protected by the third-party vendor, protected with CodeMeter or protected with something else. And so from this requirement, it depends how to implement this. And if they are already protected with CodeMeter, then there's the option to connect to license centrals via one portal and to deliver both licenses with one request. So for the user, it looks like one activation, but at the end, in the background, it connects to your license central for the licensing of your application. And it connects to the license central of the third-party vendor to pick up the license there as well. So this could be one solution. But of course, this depends on your concrete situation. So maybe you can describe this a little bit more in detail, either here, then we can check if our answers went into the right direction, or if we should rethink our answer. Is there an official Docker image from WIBU that is actively maintained for the current CodeMeter runtime version?
The short answer is yes. We have, I think it's called WIBU-SYSTEMS / CodeMeter, which is the official CodeMeter runtime in version 8.21. It's currently in Docker Hub. And we will also have the License Central and the License Portal in Docker in the following year. So this year it will come that there will be also an official release of the License Central and the License Portal in Docker. But it's not yet clear if we push that to the Docker Hub or have an internal license, if we have an internal registry where only our customers can get access to it.
So I think this is also answered for the .NET application. We did not get any feedback. Then let's continue with the next question. There are no dongles found in WebDepot and an error message appears.
Yeah, it would be good to know which error message exactly appears there. And I don't have access to your system. I cannot guarantee that my answer now is correct. The best way is that you contact support afterwards so they can check it out. A typical error that has this symptom is if the certificate is not configured correctly. We need a certificate to speak to the CodeMeter container. Because when you want to contact the CodeMeter runtime, you can read, or we do not want that you can read all the running containers, including other firm codes that do not belong to you. So in the other way around, other vendors cannot see the containers and licenses in place that you put in there. And we secure it by giving you and the WebDepot a certificate, and only if the certificate is in place, you can speak to the containers with your firm code.
So at the end, this is an important security feature that no attacker, no hacker could access your licenses and read out your licenses, user licenses, and something like this. So this we already had. My application is a service. What do I do with AxProtector error dialogues? I also see there is another question which is very simple, similar to this. Are there best practices for protecting licenses of .NET web applications? Because web application and a service, in both cases, you don't have the option to bring an error message, and I guess the questions go into the same direction. So there's the option to customize the error messages of AxProtector in a way that these error messages will not be shown, but maybe you write an error log, or maybe you do something else, you just terminate the application. So in this case, the option is to customize error messages and to not showing error dialogues. A recommendation, especially for web applications, is to not encrypt the whole application with a license, There is now since a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, there's the option to encrypt software without a license. And so the idea is of a service and of web application to identify which are parts of the software which should run anytime without any sold functionality. So just the framework to it is running, it's providing error messages, it's providing some feedback. And these functionalities can be either not protected at all, or these functions can be protected using our unbound license or license-free mode. So where you encrypt them, but they are anyway starting and anyway running, and then identifying the functionality that you want to protect inside your application, and then checking if a license is there, and if not, bringing an error message in this unprotected or only protected, not licensed part. And then if the license is there, executing the real functionality of your software. So meaning you have something like a wrapper around, which works without a license, which checks for the license, and which does the error handling. And before calling a functionality, which is really protected, which includes intellectual property, you check for the license, and then you let AxProtector or AxProtector Runtime, Ax Engine automatically decrypt the software. Next question. Our software is delivered in Docker containers. How do I get the license safely into the container?
Sure, I can try. So there is there are a few options you can use. One of them being just file-based version of it. So you can use the CMU utility, which is inside the Docker container, to import your license files. You can create first. You can create the context file, upload it. I mean, kind of get it out of your container in any way you like. Upload it to the license central for signing, or to the WebDepot or something, and then you get a update file back, which you can import with the CMU utility. Also, you can use the web. You can use the your local CodeMeter runtime, which you connect to the Docker container via the network interface to import the license via this. So,
from the security part, there is the option to have the license inside of the Docker container. This is something where the security is low, because if we are okay, let's start again. We have the option of a CmCloud license, of a cloud-based license, and of a dongle. So if we speak of a containerized application like Docker, if we're using a cloud license, the cloud license is secure and can be used inside a Docker container without any restrictions. So this is a secure way. If you're using a dongle, you can connect the dongle to the Docker container, also a secure way if we speak of Docker on embedded devices. You can also install CodeMeter Runtime on the host and connect the dongle to the host, and then using the network communication between the Docker and the host. And if we speak of a CmAct file, you can, or CmAct license file, then there's the option to put it as on the host as a license server, similar like I explained with the dongle, that you have the Docker installation on the host with all the security that we have with a CmAct license file. Or you can put it inside of the Docker container. If you do this, it will be written in a named volume. But of course, in this case, the files or the license files are simply there. Also hidden stuff like fingerprint, generation ID, all the stuff, fingerprint not, but the generation ID is stored also on this named volume. And so making a backup of the named volume and resetting a license is definitely something which would work. That's why from the security point of view, we don't recommend to use a CmAct license file directly in a Docker container. For cloud and dongle. It can be used from security point of view directly in Docker container. Best way is to have runtime outside of the Docker container on the host and use it there and just to communicate. So this is from the security point of view, and as Michael explained, from the licensing point of view, how to do this using CMU, your software to activate the license. Our end customers are traveling on construction sites and have no access to the internet. So I can forget about your cloud solution. There's an option which is called license borrowing. And license borrowing means you can transfer a license from a license server. Could be a license server in your local network, could be a license server also in the cloud with our cloud solution. And then you can borrow the license for 3 days, 1 day, 7 days, something like this. And then it can be used offline on a local computer, maybe on the laptop on the construction site. And then after the X days, it will automatically fall back from the local machine to the license server in the cloud or your local network. If, and I think this is very special in our solution, if the user returns earlier, he could return the license from the local device to the network server because we have a secure anchor on the local device. And so there's also a secure removal of a license on the local device. And so you can return the license even earlier and make it available on the license server in the cloud or in the local network again. Okay, let's go to the next question. My CodeMeter micro-embedded project creates CmAct license containers that have all the same serial. What do I do wrong?
Yeah, so that sounds like a very common problem. So basically, the micro-embedded needs a random number source to generate those serial numbers. And on a bare metal device, there is no standard way to get a random number seed. So depending on your implementation, you have to provide a entropy source to micro-embedded for it to be able to seed its pseudo random number generator and generate proper random numbers. Otherwise, you'll get the same, basically the same random number each time. So this function is the crandom auto seed custom, which you need to override when in your implementation and provide a real random seed, which you can derive from a noise source like a ADC or something like that, or you have a proper entropy source in your microcontroller which you can use. And then you can override this this function, and your problem should be solved then.
I have a Python script protected with AxProtector. Cool. This is something, by the way, we can do, and we do very good. This script will run on small Linux servers on the internet. How would you implement the installation of CodeMeter and AxProtector runtime, importing of the license, etc., without sudo admin rights? Is it possible to install CodeMeter and AxProtector as a non-sudo admin user? I plan on using cloud licenses. Is there anything I need to keep in mind? You should install CodeMeter as sudo. Should. I'm coming back to this in a couple of seconds. After the installation of CodeMeter, you can activate licenses without needing sudo. So that means CodeMeter should be installed as daemon in the background, and then you can use CMU command line, which Michael mentioned also for the Docker installation. You can run CMU without administrative rights, just to import your lib file just to create the fingerprint to the WIBU CodeMeter remote activation context file. Also for importing the update file, everything works fine. Also importing, you wrote that you want to or plan to use cloud license containers. In this case, you create the cloud credential file or let a portal do this for you. And then you can also import the cloud credential file with CMU without the need to be administrator. The only thing is CodeMeter Runtime, and you speak of AxProtector Runtime. I assume you speak of the CodeMeter CP, CodeMeter Protection Suite, CPSRT Runtime, CPSRT shared object. And in this case, this should be installed as admin. I know there is also the option to simply make a copy installation by copying CodeMeter Runtime and putting the configuration file in the same folder. I'm not 100% sure if this works with cloud containers. It definitely works with dongles. It definitely does not work with CmAct licenses, because for CmAct licenses, we need the installation of CodeMeter with administrative rights, so that CodeMeter is running as a daemon to gather all the information about the device with the fingerprint. With cloud, we, after the import of this cloud credential file, we store them in a secure way. And I think this is the critical topic. So we will check this if there is an option to use cloud containers with CodeMeter Runtime, which is not installed as daemon. I'm not totally sure. I think I saw that something like this is on the roadmap. I'm not sure if this is implemented, or if not, if it will be implemented. So this is something we definitely need to check, and we come back with an answer to this question to you individually. Okay, we already did this. We already checked this with the same serial number. Next one. Can I use an offline update file multiple times? Can I use an short answer? No. You can use it only once, because every container, or to be more concrete, your firm code in the container has a so-called firm update counter, FUC. And every time when you update a license, the firm update counter is increased by 1. And so all updates need to be activated in the correct order, can be activated only once, and you cannot skip an update. So the reason for this is there are updates which might just say, please add X days to an existing expiration time, meaning if you could the X days add them multiple times would be bad. Or there might be updates to remove a license, and so if a user could skip the removal of a license, then he would have more licenses than you want him to have. And so there's the option that you can import an update only once, making sure that the container has the correct licenses. And when you get a receipt back from the user, you simply need to check the firm update counter, and with the knowledge of the firm update counter, you know which updates were imported and which updates were not imported. And by the way, CodeMeter License Central is doing or using exactly this mechanism. Okay, thank you. I think this thank you was about the Python script. Okay. Can CodeMeter licenses and dongles be shared via a KVM switch or via USB over Ethernet?
So if I understand the question correctly, the answer is yes and no. It really depends at what frequency you want to do this, because there is a protection mechanism in the dongle. It's called FULA, which limits the number of connection events, replug events, basically, and also just initialization events with CodeMeter micro-embedded or embedded. So if the if the process which uses embedded or micro-embedded stops and restarts and reconnects to the dongle, this is counted, and you get 50 replug events per 20 minutes, and then the dongle is locked for 5 minutes. So it depends on how often you want to do this.
So do I understand you correctly, Michael? This means if I want to use it on one device today and tomorrow on the other device, this would work?
Yes, exactly.
And if I want to try to increase the amount of licenses by putting it on an automatic switching over from this computer to another computer by, let's say, something like a reverse USB hub, this would not work.
Exactly. I mean, it would work in a very limited way. So after a few switch events, it would block.
So that means you could not use this in a productive environment. This is, I think, a very good answer and definitely good to know. Okay, I need my glasses to read the next question. How can I protect myself against time manipulation? Okay, time manipulation is also a question we can talk about hours for this. There are multiple features. Let's start with the CodeMeter container, dongle, cloud, or act. For cloud, it's quite easy. The clock is checked inside of the cloud container, so at the cloud server. There is a trusted clock, and every license, every expiration time is checked against the clock on the cloud server in our hosting center. So I think for cloud, there is no manipulation possible. Dongle. In the dongle, we have a smart card chip. In the smart card chip, we have a simulated clock. And when we produce a dongle, we will put the current time into this simulated clock. This clock is inside the smart card chip. When we so then after the production, we will deliver this to you, or you will deliver to your customer with the initial time. And when the customer connects it to the computer, we have the stored time in the dongle, and we have the time of the computer. And usually the time of the computer is sent to the dongle. And then inside of the firmware, the dongle checks what is the better time, newer time, the time that I have stored, or the time from the PC, computer, embedded device. And then it automatically sets itself to the better time, to the time in which is more into the future. And then it stores this, and it will continue running inside of the smart card chip with this clock. So if you remove it, it stops. Accurately, it stops a couple of seconds before, because we cannot write exactly at the moment when you plug it off. So it is written frequently in the background. And when you plug it in, this synchronization mechanism happens again. And so this time usually is protected against time warps in the back, but of course it's not protected against time warps in the future, because you can set your clock to the future, and then the dongle would automatically set the clock to the future. And but we have a very good time running offline, or can be used offline, which protects against time warps in the past. The ACT license, by the way, is using the same mechanism. In case, or in contrary to the dongle, the time is not stored in the smart card chip. The time is stored in an encrypted file on the hard drive. And there are some generation IDs where we store on hidden places, so to make sure that it is hard to reset this file to a previous state. And so also here we have the option to have a very good check against time warp, protection against time warps in the past. For you as software developer, there is another option that when you activate a license, you could transfer the time, and this time is then a time which is set or written into the container and saying, okay, we know the license was programmed today today is the 22nd of January, 9:45 now, 9:45 Central European time. And you say, okay, with this time, the programming is done. And so the time in the CodeMeter container will be automatically set to this time. And so this is an optional feature that you can use when you're programming your time. And so this is the mechanism against time warps to the past with the license with an expiration time. Additionally, there is, if you want to protect it against time warps in the future, then you need internet. But I have no project where someone wants to protect itself against the time warps to the future. And that's why we have a lot of mechanisms which were handled automatically in the background by CodeMeter Runtime, by the firmware of the dongle, and you don't need to take care. You simply write your expiration time to your license, and we make sure that this expiration time cannot be manipulated on an easy way. Okay, so where did we were with the questions? Completely different questions. I have a question. I have a system on which both CodeMeter Runtime and CodeMeter Embedded should run at the same time, but Runtime always grabs the dongle. Is there a solution? Michael, I think this is for you.
Yeah, sure. We have something that's called the runtime bridge. By default, it should be actually enabled, but sometimes maybe it's not. So CodeMeter Embedded has the feature to use runtime as a bridge to the dongle, and by default, there is a definition in the CmConfig file which enables it. Maybe it's disabled in your case. If check it out, there is a definition called something with runtime bridge should be set to on.
And I think the next question, Michael, is also something which could go to you. How can I protect my machine learning data model?
So a machine learning data model is basically just data, and as such, I mean, it's just for example, in Python, it could be stored in a pickle file or something like that. And as such, it's just a blob. It's just a file on your file system, and you can encrypt it using our technology. You can use, if you're using our API, you can use CmCrypt to encrypt your data, and then use it to decrypt it in your application with key material which is stored in the dongle.
And I think the next one is also to you, Michael.
Okay.
So it's now your time. I have a Python application and would like to use Ctypes to integrate a native library that is encrypted with AxProtector. Is this possible?
Yeah, there is no reason for it not to be possible. So the library, I mean the shared object, is to the outside world, it just looks like any other shared object, and you can integrate it with your Python script as you would if nothing happened to it before. So yeah, no problem, not at all.
I just want to come back to a question that we had already earlier, the ERP and the Dynamics question. And in the background, I chatted with some of my colleagues, and one of them told me that he already did a few projects. And I remember that at the beginning, the estimation was we can do this together in 10 days. And after half a day, he came back and said, okay, the Microsoft Dynamics integration is already done. So the trick is that there is a SOAP service, and if you know how and when to call our SOAP service, then the integration is very easy. Just as an remark to this, because there was something in my head that we had something like this, and so I texted with this colleague and got just the feedback. Yes, this was Microsoft Dynamics, where we estimated 10 days, but we needed just half of a day for the integration. A very good success story, I think. Next question. You have customized our WebDepot. What would be the benefit of signing a professional service support contract?
So we're constantly updating the WebDepot software as well as the license portal software, and we are focusing on optimizing the user experience. And if we have customized your WebDepot, that means that we've done changes in the source code itself, and we've we have to maintain that if you want to upgrade the WebDepot to the newest version. So if you want to have the new user experience and the new features that comes with the new versions of the WebDepot or license portal as well, we have to do some work. And if you sign the support contract, we promise that updates are included inside of the contract. Otherwise, if you say you want to have the WebDepot updated, you have to get an additional invoice about the service hours we take to upgrade your system.
Yeah, typically my recommendation is if it is just an corporate design adaptation, then usually you don't need this. But as Lucas mentioned, you have customized workflows or something like this, then having a support contract would make sure that these updates are compatible. Or if they are not, we make sure they will be, and there's no additional effort that you need to pay for. If I have our license central hosted by you, how is it protected against failure or data loss? I think, Lucas, also something for you.
Yes. If the license central is hosted by us, we do daily backups. That's the first measurement against data loss. Also, it's completely monitored. So if there is something going wrong, our service technicians are getting an alarm and can handle that situation. And we have, in addition, a second data center. If you have the hosting by us, not only for the normal license central edition, but for the, I think it's called high availability.
Availability and high performance, both.
And the high performance. We replicate your license central database in a second data center. So if there is a failure on the productive license central, we can quickly recover the current state, not only the state that was backupped last night, but the current state in a short amount of time.
Thank you, Lucas. If I take a look on the clock, we have 5 minutes left, and there are not so many open questions. Let's check which we should answer here and which we should answer later by email. We log into all our internal systems with our Active Directory. Is there a way to do the same for License Portal?
Sure it is. Currently, we're doing this in a lot of customization projects with the License Portal, so that we are integrating the single sign-on into the License Portal itself. That is also coming this year with our developer and evaluation portal. So we're setting up internally a single sign-on, so you don't have to have multiple login credentials for our systems as well. And with the license portal version in the future, I don't know if it's coming this year, but we then also have a more generic implementation of the single sign-on in place.
Can the WIBU dongle also be used as PKCS #11 compatible smart card?
Yes, you can. I mean, on the hardware side, the WIBU dongle is very similar to a smart card, and all the cryptographic routines are in there. But directly, it doesn't expose a PKCS 11 interface. We do have, though, a service that's called WIBU Cert Vault, and it can provide a PKCS 11 interface to you using the dongle as hardware.
How can I automate the import of CmCloud containers? I think Mike already answered this question with the Docker, with the CMU import. So it's the same answer.
And with the CMU, you are also able to automate this via Ansible scripts or configuration puppets, chefs, whatever you have in place there.
One interesting question, and I think this is the last that we cover here. All the rest we will answer via email then directly. Should my customers always confirm the activations in WebDepot? This is a really, really good question. And typically I would say yes. Yes, you should always confirm them, making sure that your support knows is the license really activated on the target device. There are only a few rare cases where I say, don't do a confirmation at all. And this is, you remember the use case I was talking about, can I bind my license to an external device? And with the microscope, for instance. And then if you say, I have, if the license is on the external device itself, you could do the confirmation, everything is fine. If the license is stored on a local machine, on a local computer, and then you would do a confirmation, or this is the only way, or the only use case where I don't recommend to have a confirmation, because confirmation means License Central knows this license was activated and delivered. And so License Central does not deliver the same license the second time. So one of the advantages of confirmation is that the update file that License Central sends to your user will become smaller, because License Central is so smart, it only sends the missing updates. And if something is confirmed, you will not get it again. In case of this device, as soon as you have the same computer and you connect the device, remove the device, connect the device, everything is fine. But if you want to go to a second computer, because you remember from update counter, all the updates are one by one, you need to import all updates also on the second machine, because you want to switch the license or the microscope between two different machines. And if the licenses were completely confirmed, in this case, you would not get a complete chain of updates, and you would get only the last one. And this means you were not able to import the licenses on this second computer. And that's why my recommendation is, if you're using the binding extension, but store the license on a local machine, don't do confirmations in WebDepot at all. In all other cases, confirm, 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 and if not possible, confirm. And with this, there just came one last interesting question, a really last question. A user wants to protect his Python application from reverse generation and also wants to use physical protection so that the software cannot run without a CM dongle. How does he needs to get started? I would say take the AxProtector Python. Or?
Of course, yeah.
So take AxProtector Python, encrypt the Python application, program the dongle, and send the dongle to your user together with your protected Python application. Protected Python application, CodeMeter Runtime, and the dongle. With this, I would say thank you very much for all the questions you sent to us here during the live chat and for all the questions that you sent to us already in advance. If your question was not answered, then we will send you the answer via email or contact you directly. If you have other questions that you forgot to ask today, feel free to send an email to our team, to your sales team, to our support team, to us directly. And with this, I'd like to say thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day.